It's raining. Wasn't supposed to be raining, but it's raining. So while we're hiding in the shed, I have a grape update for you. Gone through all of my archives of everything that I've ever written, like what we've got growing up here perennially, and all it says is grapevine, which is not helpful, Jessie. Trawled around the kind of time that I thought it was, couldn't find anything. And along comes Rescue Ranger Jo, who's one of my Patreons. She actually asked ChatGPT. They came up with, it was actually vlog 7 that I planted the grapevine. Brilliant. Now you would have thought that I mentioned at the time of planting what the name of the grape was, wouldn't you? But oh no. So I knew what date I'd done it. So I figured I must have said it on Instagram. Well, no grape post. What was I doing? Long story short, I went back and looked through old archived emails and tried to find the actual order that I ordered it from. Couldn't remember what company I ordered it from, obviously. Turns out it was Marshall's. And the name of the grape is Crimson Seedless. There we go. It's a Crimson Seedless grape. Don't let me forget it again. Yeah, so that's very exciting. And then there's also something else to mention on the grape front. When I was doing the grape, I happened to mention that Johanna has a grapevine at her house, and I said it had seeds in it. Well, I can tell you, I had a text extremely quickly saying, my grape doesn't have seeds. So no, Johanna's grape does not have seeds. It is completely seedless.
Completely seedless.
Please take this as my unreserved official apology. Johanna's grape doesn't have seeds. But yeah, so it's raining, which is a bit of a bugger really, because I was planning on doing a bit of digging because we've still got more of those blooming troughs to put in. We've still got the Thai basil, the French beans and the beetroot to go in. But to be fair, the beetroot's pretty much ready to pick, and the French beans we've been picking anyway. Do I need to put them in the ground? I'm not entirely sure, but I don't really feel like digging in the rain. So I think what we're going to do is a bit more sowing. I can give you an update on what we sowed last week though, because you know, we sowed everything because it was going to be warm and wet and exactly perfect direct sowing weather. We were right, because everything's up. Here we have the Chimney wrapper mix, all up. You see what I mean about it being really distinctive, like proper brassica seedlings, like this shape seedling is so distinctive. And actually, to be fair, there's not a great deal of weeds come up in there, is there? Like everything does seem to be chimney-wrappery. And in the other bed, Mum sowed the turnips. I don't know if you remember that, and I sowed purslane. Well, the turnips are definitely up. You can see in there, again, very similar classic brassica type seedling in there. But the purslane is up too. Now, I've never seen a purslane seedling before, obviously, because this is the first time I'm growing it, and they're teeny tiny. I was pretty shocked by how small the seed was, actually, and the seedlings are exactly the same. Now, I'm not going to take the netting off because hassle, but yeah, look, there's my little purslanes. Can you see them? They're very small. But yeah, not bad. I'm pretty pleased with that. And then we've got more things to sow. I've got some... Do you know what? I haven't got a clue. I have to go and look at the list. Just brought a whole load of seeds up with me and I can't remember a single one of them right now. They were not purslane. We've already sown them. Oh yeah, here we go. Oh no, that's not them. Oh, I don't know. I don't know what is I'm supposed to be sowing today. I've got some spinach. I might do that because it appears I've left everything that I was intending to sow at home. Are you girls? Are you 5 girls? 5 girls? What? Who are you? 5 girls. There is. 5, in fact. Girly whirly whirly whirls, girly whirly whirly whirls. Come in here, show your beans. Okay, so these weren't actually the things that I was intending to sow. Or they're on the sow list, but they're not the things that I meant to bring up today. But I'm going to get in some more spring onions. I have none coming along in here, and the last lot have just been sown out. So that's how I'm sort of working it in terms of succession sowing, is sow them in here or outside, but in trays. And then once they're ready to go out, plonk them out, sow again. So you can get this kind of pattern working. Whereas it's quite difficult to do pre-planning on the succession sowing, because it says, oh, you can sow them every 3 weeks or whatnot. But sometimes then you get a backlog, like if they're not moving out of the greenhouse fast enough or such like. So I've taken a step back from it being a rigid time plan. It is just when they go out, the next lot go in. And that's working really well so far. I've got some flat American spinach to go in, which is a proper spinach, it's a true spinach, but instead of being quite an upright chap that you pick the baby leaves of, these get into quite large leaves and they tend to lie quite flat across the ground, but it's got a great flavour. So I'm going to sow some of those. I've got some pak choi to go in. We're kind of getting to that time now. In general, it's like from August, you start sowing the Asian greens that don't like the heat. So, but we're actually only like 4 or 5 days away from August. So I'm going to get some of those in. That's actually the variety that was really stunning last year with the pink rib. Oh, it was absolutely gorgeous. I'm also going to be growing some Komatsuna and some petrol purple, which is the red choy. I'll be getting that in. And then I'm going to put some parsley and some more Thai basil in. This is the flat leaf parsley, so it's like the giant Italian one rather than the really dense curly one. The dense curly one's doing brilliantly, but the flat leaf parsley, first lot I sowed, went out and it was happy as Larry. The second lot mysteriously vanished after I'd sown it or after I'd planted it out. And I think it was them girlies, because, you know, fluffy butts disappearing up the allotment and then there's no parsley. Me being the Sherlock Holmes that I am, I think the girlies had it. So I'm going to sow some more of that. And it does continue quite long into the winter, so I'm not worried about it being too late for that at all. Thai basil, you can grow year round indoors, but this will be the last sowing, and I'm going to put this into the polytunnel. And our polytunnel isn't heated, so I'm hoping that this sowing will kind of take us through September, October, November, and then when it gets cold, it will go. That's my plan. Okay. Right, let's chuck them Lilia in. This is the spring onion I'm doing, my favourite. Where should we start? On the end, I think. I'll do 2 rows of Lilia. And that pretty much makes one straight row in our bed. Like one full row, I mean. Okay, so I actually decided to throw in one extra at the end there, which are these onions. So they are the banana shallot onions. This is from seed, so they're not sets. If I was sowing sets, you would expect to get multiple shallots from each shallot, but this is seed, so you just get the one shallot. I'm going to be sowing these outside as well, but I just figured I might just try some in here because we've had a bit of trouble getting them to germinate previously outside. So I'm going to hedge my bets and do both. But these will be going in outside maybe later this week, actually, if the rain ever stops. Don't complain about the rain, Jessie. We really need the rain. Don't complain about the rain. Although I hope it's not raining tomorrow. I really hope it's not raining tomorrow because I'm going on a bit of an outing tomorrow. I got an email about 4 weeks ago, just saying, hi Jessie, do you fancy coming along to the Leckford Farm for ecological farming school day? Well, the answer was yes, obviously. But the Leckford Farm, I don't know if you know it, if you're in the UK, like, the supermarket Waitrose, they actually have their own farm. It's huge and they do loads and loads of different sort of farming practices on there. And they've got the wild farmed wheat has got some stuff on there, all that kind of stuff. And occasionally they open it up and I'm going there tomorrow. So I'm very excited. I just hope the weather's a bit better than it is today because it might be a bit wet, a bit damp. But other than knowing where I'm going, I've actually got no idea what the day is going to involve. So it's going to be a surprise for all of us tomorrow. And then we'll be back here. But before we leave here today, I'm going to get in that polytunnel because I think we have some decent size tomatoes to pick. Ugh. It's a bit crap, isn't it?
Very.
It's a bit crap. Right, last thing is to get in that polytunnel, pick some big tomatoes,
Take the thing with you or not?
Yeah, I'll take the
Or
basket.
do you want to take one of those?
I might take a box actually, yeah.
So you're not going to pick many, are you?
No. Just enough to have with some mozzarella and basil for dinner. I know that this weather doesn't really sing a basil, tomato and mozzarella salad, but despite the rain, that's what we're going to have. I don't know why I'm doing this. It's not like the rain's going to ruin my amazing hairdo, is it? Right, chaps. Oh, the question is, what are we going to go for? So we have got this one. Now, this has actually split just there, if you can see that. So this one is definitely going to be coming with us. We have a couple more of these miraculous bits of gorgeousness. There's one proper like comedy red tomato down there. Things are definitely starting to change colour in there. This is going to be an orange one. I think it's called Orange Wellington. That one was from Johanna. These are changing colour. You can see they're just coming good. And look at that. We've got, actually, do you know what? I think this one might be, should I just test the knuckle? Oh yeah, it's ready. Look at the beauty. Look at the beauty of that. Oh my goodness. Okay, and then we have this one here, which is, oh yeah, that's also snapped, so that's ready to go. This one is actually a Japanese black trifeli, but it's a bit of a strange shape. You see how squat that is? Normally they're very much more that sort of shape, like heavy bodied. This first one is a little bit strange, but I think it's still going to taste amazing. In here, we have got some black Russians. Does that one feel good? Oh yeah, you see they're just breaking perfectly. Just get in there. It's very difficult with one hand though, chaps. There we go. Absolute beauty. There's another one coming on there. And then we've got loads of sun gold again. Can't go wrong with a nice bit of orange cherry, can you? There's something particular, can you see me? There's something particularly special, I don't know, about being in here in the polytunnel in the rain, picking tomatoes, and they smell amazing. It's just joy. It's joy, chaps, it is. Get those ones in there. I'm gonna take that one too. Sexy beast. Let's go down there for that. Little love. Mum is not happy. That lady does not like the rain. Oh, this is nice. Yeah, that lady does not like the rain, I can tell you. Okay, I'm just going to put these in this little basket and we're going to go home because Mum needs rescuing. There we go. What a haul. What a haul. Very happy. Let's brave it. It's wet. It's wet. And she's got a lot heavier. Mum's racing to get the girls inside. The girls, understandably being covered in feathers, hate the rain. Hate the rain. Excellent. Yeah, I'm so chuffed with that. I mean, look at this beauty. Just beauty. I don't have any other words for it. It's just beauty. And then there's this beauty. Look at the beauty. It's like, I tell you, last year we didn't get, as I've said so many times, we didn't get a single one of the big chaps. This year we're good. Are you all right out there, Mum? Do you think you might be ready to go home?
It's not great out there.
No, it's not. But look at these. Just have a look at that. I'm just going to film your reaction because joy. Look at the beauty. Look at the stripes on that one. It's absolutely stunning.
It smells wonderful too.
Are you looking forward to your wonderful hot weather Mediterranean dinner?
Yes. There's got the meatloaf to go with it.
Yeah. Oh, the colours on this is not coming out. Like, if I go out into the, can you see? Can you see how beautiful that is? Like, it's purple and peach and pink and green and, oh, it's just so lovely. It's so beautiful. Good afternoon, chaps. I've actually just come back from the Lechford estate, but I wasn't able to do any audio recording while I was there, so I thought I would chat to you about it from home while it's all still fresh in my head. So the day started very awkwardly, like these things often do. I was told that we were meeting at Waterloo Station at 8 AM, but with no clue who I was meeting or what I was looking for or anything. So I perched in Pret, had a bird's eye view and waited for somebody to show up who looked like they might work for Waitrose. Eventually, actually, a group of girls arrived with a load of Waitrose bags. So I was like, aha. Excellent. So from Waterloo, it's quite easy to get to. We got the train to Andover because the Leckford estate is actually in the Test Valley, which is in Hampshire. So we got the train up to Andover and then jumped in a little coach to go from there to the actual estate proper. Very nicely, we were provided with breakfast. It was all very PR eventy. But we had a croissant and a little pot of fruit and one of these like oat milk latte thingy-bobbies, all from Waitrose, obviously, and in a little John Lewis cooler bag, which was rather snaz. So where we're headed is the only farm owned by a supermarket in the UK. They've had it for nearly 100 years. They bought it in 1929. And it was actually originally bought by a bloke called Speeden Lewis. Now, you know John Lewis, the partnership, so John Lewis and Waitrose are like intermingled, it's the same shebang. And I always assumed that John Lewis had been started by a man called John Lewis, but it actually turns out that it wasn't. It was a man called Mr. John and a man called Mr. Lewis. So there we go. I learned something on that front. But anyway, this bloke, Mr. Lewis, bought this farm because he already had these ideas. Obviously, it wasn't regenerative agriculture at the time because that's not a term that was around. But he was very, very focused on nature and community. And the farm itself has, well, it's a huge farm, firstly. It's 2,800 acres. 2,000, yeah, I think that's what it was. Really quite a decent sized farm, and running right through the middle of it is the River Test, and then they've got this village which houses lots of workers from the farm itself, but also traditionally, so like from 1937 onwards, Waitrose partners, because Waitrose doesn't have workers exactly, it's all like the people who work for Waitrose own it, and various people were allowed to come on holiday there who worked for the company and such like. So really, really cozy, and my goodness, is it a beautiful spot. We arrived on the farm, so it was probably about 10ish, and what was so sweet, they'd set the whole thing up like it was a school day. So first place we went was this tuck shop, got a cup of tea and a blueberry muffin. It was really cute. And then they'd laid out all these desks ready for like an old-fashioned school day, so we all kind of potted around and then sat down at our desk. They split this morning into below ground and above ground, and it was really just like, what are the principles of regenerative agriculture? One of the first tasks that we had to do was, we had this little apple on the table. We had to cut this up into progressively small pieces to demonstrate how little soil there actually is on planet Earth and how precious that is, and the fact that our general usage of it is incredibly destructive. Regenerative agriculture itself is a bit of an undefined term. Like, it tends to mean different things for different places, but in the context of Lechford Estate, it's very much about regenerating the soil and everything that comes along with that. So creating a regenerative form of farming rather than depletive. Trying to reduce soil disturbance as much as feasibly possible, and that even comes down to when seeds are planted. They don't use a tilling device, it's a precise injection of seed just to try and minimize that disturbance. Try and keep root growth, so living root in that soil all year round, rather than having a crop that's, say, in the ground for 6 to 8 months and then the rest of the year it's bare. That leads to all sorts of problems with leaching of soil, and then the structure is broken down. But if you can keep things growing in that soil all year round and alternating what those things are that are growing and diversifying your crops and diversifying what you're growing and what's around the farm, that's where that richness of the soil starts coming in. So you're increasing the organic matter in the soil. And by doing that, and by building this integral structure that the soil is supposed to have, you're making it so much more resilient to flooding and to drought and to all sorts of other problems which are becoming more of a problem as we go on. And the less resilient our soils are and the less resilient the plants that we're growing in it are, the more danger we and the environment are in. And then the second half of the morning was about the above ground side of that. The lady who was speaking about this had a lot of maps of the farm itself. And actually, of those 2,800 acres that they've got, a third of it is not farmed. Includes, obviously, I mentioned earlier that the River Test goes straight the way through the centre of the estate. So that is one bit that's out. But they've also got water meadows, wildflower meadows, hedgerows, really quite wide hedgerows, and then field margins. There's also really quite a lot of woodland on the estate. It's a real diversity of habitat. It's circular, that's the thing. By reducing the pesticide use and increasing the diversity of wildlife in the area, you're bringing in your own pest control because you're bringing in the predators. So at this point we headed off, and actually we went over the River Test. Now this is a beautiful, beautiful river that is also benefiting hugely from the lack of pesticides and fertilizers in particular, because there's no runoff into that river. And so they've got trout and salmon and eels. These are old eel traps. Actually, they're not in use anymore, but they've got them there, you know, for heritage reasons. But yeah, really a beautiful, beautiful environment and just stunning. The whole place was stunning. So we were actually heading towards a rapeseed processing unit that they have on site. So they grow rapeseed at the farm and then they put it through the processor, which is their own processing unit. So seed oils have had a bit of a bad time of it recently in the press. And that's for a number of reasons. So firstly, seed oils in general, you tend to find them in really highly processed foods. But that is coincidental in the sense of the seed oil itself isn't the bad thing. It's the highly processed food that they're found in that's the problem. So just having a seed oil on its own, that's not the same thing. The other two reasons that they're called up for is that they're very high in omega-6 in general. And omega-6 sounds very similar to omega-3, but it's not quite got all those beautiful health benefits that omega-3 has. But you do need both. So I don't think it's fair to vilify seed oil on its omega-6 content. Very attractive. The third one, and I think the most viable reason to not be impressed with seed oils, is that often the processing is firstly very, very wasteful. You need a lot of land, you know, to produce a small amount of oil. The process itself can be quite complicated to get that oil out of the seeds and can involve quite a lot of chemical additives to produce the end product. Well, I can show you here that that is absolutely not the case with this particular rapeseed oil. I can't speak for other rapeseed oils. I haven't had any experience of them, but this was a really beautiful process. So the rapeseed is grown on site. It is harvested once it's dried out and brought to this facility. At this point, it's got all the chaff in it still. So then it's separated out from the chaff just by a mechanical sieving process. That's all it is. And that chaff is chucked back straight onto the fields. So it just becomes more organic matter in the soil. And what happens from this point is I couldn't film this because there was high magnetism. It was run by magnets in there. The whole machine was magnet based. And so my camera would have suffered. So I left my camera outside, but I can tell you what it was. It's a funnel where the rapeseed goes in the top, and there's a huge screw in there. There was 4 different ones. One of them wasn't working. So 3 of them, these screws that literally are just pressing the oil out of the seeds, and it's just oozing out the end. Now, this is a really simple process, but what comes out is clouded. And then it's often the purification section of the process where the chemicals are added to purify it. But what they use is diatomaceous earth. Now, if you listen to Alex and I's podcast last week about pests and diseases, I was talking about diatomaceous earth, which is actually fossilized plankton. But really, it's a completely natural substance, and it's just filtered through that. It acts as a perfect filter. They use it in swimming pool filters and stuff as well. And what comes out is this beautiful, clear oil, and that is it. That's the entire process. What's left behind is the husks of each of the seeds, and that is compressed into little pellets, nothing else added, nothing else happens to it, compressed into pellets and becomes cattle feed. And actually only one woman runs it. I think her name was Zoe, and it was her process. If she's not there for the day, the system doesn't run. It was amazing. It was really, really good. And then of course we got to bottle some of our own, which was just really nice. Next part of the trip from here was we actually went to see some of the wheat fields. The farm is mainly arable. They operate on a 12-year crop rotation cycle, and so they don't grow wheat all the time. They also do oats and barley, and of course the rapeseed is another one in that rotation, and they also do a herbal ley system in there as well. But this field in particular is a wild farmed field, so Wild Farm are a company. Or a movement, as they like to call themselves, but basically it's a company. So they buy crop, meaning that they've got 2 different crops in the field at the same time, so it's not just a pure sea of wheat. In here, they've actually got field beans and various other bits and pieces as well, but it's mainly field beans and wheat, and both are in the same field together. Now, the field beans are grown for exactly the same reason that we grow the field beans, is that they have a really good root structure and they are nitrogen sequesters. So they take the nitrogen out of the air, they put it into the soil, and then that is able to be used by the wheat. So you get this really beautiful system with a huge reduction or complete lack of having to use artificial fertilizers. It's just a beautiful thing.
Functioning soil health, Functioning soil biology is the genesis point of all life on Earth. So plants are getting their nutrients from the soil. If the soil's not in good shape, then the plant can't get any nutrients from it. If the plant's not...
And plays into this whole soil rejuvenation situation. That sounded good. Wild Farm have a website, and I will put the link underneath if you want to go and check them out. But their bread is delicious. Their website's pants. You can't really get any information off the website whatsoever. It's just a lot of like headline grabbing stuff. But the process itself was a really beautiful thing to chat about. I'm very pleased to say, though, that the next thing on the list was lunch. And have a look at this. Firstly, the most beautiful, I mean, it was like proper Instagrammable. Having said that, I didn't put it on Instagram. But yeah, Instagrammable tables, absolutely beautiful. And then this incredible plethora feast of things to eat for lunch, which was absolutely delicious. The farm is an arable farm, like overall, but they do also have orchards, really quite substantial orchards. They have vineyards, they have forage fields, so grazing fields that they rent out to sheep from other farms can come in, and they also have beef on site, cattle. The orchards are actually 30 acres, which is vast, and they sell those apples as like eating apples and cooking apples, but they also make cider on site, and they make apple juice with the surplus, which you can tell which one I prefer. Like, less apple juice, chaps, go for the cider. But on that note, we actually then headed off to the vineyards, and this was really interesting. So obviously I have been very excited about my own grapes this year, but these vineyards were stunning. So beautiful and so well maintained, and all done by this bloke Colin Pratt. And if you buy the Lechford estate sparkling wine that you can get in Waitrose, it's utterly delicious, I can guarantee you, but it's got Colin Pratt's name written on the front of it, because he is a one-man band, a bit like Zoe being the only person who does the rapeseed. Colin is the bloke for the vineyards. He looks after all the apple trees and all the grapevines. That's dedication. The grapes they grow here are a mixture of Chardonnay, Pinot Noir and Pinot Meunier. They're the three that they put together, and that's what goes into the sparkling wine.
Right. Colin, you're good. Sorry.
There's a special bottle there.
Oh! Everyone got it as well. That's hilarious.
Oh, it's a good little dance as well, he did.
7 vines in total, and typically we're making sort of between...
From the sparkling wine, we headed off towards the tractors, which I feel like maybe it should have gone the other way around rather than drinking before the tractors. But still, we got to drive tractors, which was very, very exciting. But there were two other reasons that this particular part of the day was really fab. And that was because the tractor that I was driving, this blue chap, was actually a biomethane tractor. How cool is that? So I said that they have beef on the farm, so cattle. The biomethane is taken from the cow manure, is put in these big slurry pits, and then the methane rises out the top. And the methane is one of the reasons that cows get a really bad rep, because they fart a lot and they produce methane, and that is a greenhouse gas essentially. So you want to reduce it, but they've managed to form this system, which was actually developed in Cornwall, I think he said, where they can collect the methane and then they can pump it straight into the tractors, into these canisters, and off it goes.
You got 3 big tanks in the front, and then there's 6 that are hidden in all sorts of weird places. The thing is, you can't just have one big tank because you wouldn't get the pressure in it, so you have to have lots of small tanks.
Okay.
To fill it up around here, we've just got a little gas port. So we plug the gas in, and all you're doing is equalising the pressure from one tank to the other. So you get about 200 bar in there.
How great is that? I loved this tractor. I can tell you, if I had parking in Richmond, I would have nicked it. It was glorious. It was so much fun and it was so comfortable. The seats were heated and it was all like really soft suspension. It was just bliss. I loved it. The last interesting thing that was in this field was it was actually a field that was 1 year into a herbal ley. It's this beautiful mix of different legumes and clovers and chicory. And chicory, another very interesting thing that the fantastic woman I was chatting to was telling me about, was that chicory is a particularly good one because it reduces the amount of farting that cows do. So if you graze cows on fields that have got chicory in it, you're actually already reducing that methane output. But yeah, so they had all these different stuff growing in there, and the herbal leys stay in the field for 3 years. So that's part of the 12-year crop rotation. There was so much going on. We were sat on hay bales watching other people driving the trackers because we all had to have a go, obviously. And just the number of bees, the number of beetles, the number of insects that were on this a mass of beautiful sort of tapestry carpet that was this vast field of it. It was fantastic. It was really, really interesting. And then they used that for sheep and for cattle grazing. And while those 3 years of herbal ley is in there, obviously the cattle are on there. So then you've got the manure direct into the ground. So the manure that they take that's for producing the methane gas is from when they're housed during the winter. So that's in the barns. When they're out in the field, which is the, for at least half of the year, depending on how the weather is for the year, they're out in the herbal ley fields. They are eating a very wide diversity of plants, and they then poo in the field and then they're walking it in. So during those 3 years, the soil is having a complete refresh. Basically, it's being built up and rejuvenated, and then also it's keeping the cows healthy and it's keeping the system healthy, and everything is brilliant. And that, chaps, is basically my takeaway from the day. It's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. I thoroughly recommend a visit if you're anywhere around in that part of the country. Absolutely fantastic. They had on site, it wasn't just that, they had like visitors centre-y type stuff. So they had the poshest Waitrose ever. This little, it was amazing. It really did not feel like you were in a supermarket. It was more of a farm shop. But they also had a garden centre, which I was desperate to have a bit of a nose around. But because I was there with them, I couldn't just be like, oh, I'll follow you up, chaps, because I wouldn't have missed my lift back to the station. So I didn't get to have a look around there, but it looked really fantastic. They've also got a cafe, and then I wouldn't call it a restaurant exactly, but like food in the cafe, which is from the stuff from the Lechford estate and local farms. And yeah, that was my day at Leckford Farm. It's so humid. We've got the sunshine back today. It's beautiful blue skies, but because we've had all that rain, it's now like being in a sauna. It feels really tropical. It's gorgeous, and everything is so green. We were looking really, really brown and crispy there for a little while, and suddenly everything's just bounced back to life. Look at that. She is sat on the swing seat. In fact, you look quite hot, Mum. It is. She's saying it's very, very humid. But look how much greener everything looks. Look at the grass. I'll tell you what I'll do is I will just get up a picture of what the grass looked like, whatever it was last week, and then just show you the difference, because wow, it's just greened up so quickly. It's glorious. Yeah, so yesterday I really, really enjoyed that trip. So first thing to say is thank you very much, Waitrose, for inviting me along to that. That was brilliant. I've been to quite a few of these sort of PR days at various places, and I've got to say 9 times out of 10, it's pretty grim. Like, that's a mean thing to say, but like normally they really are just trying to sell you something and get you to sell something, you know, and which can be fun, particularly if you're there with like people you know and stuff. And I would have said no, apart from the fact that I've heard of Leckford Farm and never been. It's one of those things that's mentioned a lot. Every time you read things about regenerative agriculture, they talk about like Leckford Farm being one of these places that's kind of introduced it in at scale rather than it being sort of a small experiment. They've really taken it across this whole really quite large estate. It was really, really interesting from start to finish. Yeah, it's difficult when you go to one of these things because like I didn't know anybody. In fact, I didn't even know what I was walking into, like I said. And I came away with a bottle of rum, a bottle of champagne, bottle of apple juice and a loaf of bread. It was absolutely brilliant. I'm sorry if you can hear the parakeets. They're going completely mental this morning. I think it's because it's just so beautiful out here. But yeah, it was really interesting to listen to somebody really passionately talk about regenerative agriculture, but without being deeply, deeply condescending to current farming practices. You know, like farms in general are asset rich and cash poor. They don't have the means generally. They're living year to year on profit, and they've probably got what, 3 years, if they're doing well, 3 years that things can be, you know, less than good for them to that they can cover themselves. To actually put in some of these more extreme ideas on regenerative agriculture, you're looking like 10 years. Yeah, oh yeah, in 10 years time, you'll have, you know, you'll be making more profit than now, but can you cover yourself for 10 years? You know, it's that kind of thing. And actually, it was nice to hear somebody talk with such passion about it, but without being unrealistic. You know, it was inspiring, actually. That's what it was. It was inspiring. And I met some really nice people, most of whom were farmers or chefs. Good set of people. So, earlier in the week, I was having trouble with my seeds. I couldn't find them. And actually, up until this morning, I also couldn't find them, but I've just located them in the shed. So I've now got my list of things that I need to sow for this very, very back end of July into August. I'm going to sow some of them today, but I've also got stuff to plant out. I've been given some leeks by George, who's a bloke up and over that way on this site. So I'm going to get those in. I want to get some peas in. And we sowed a load of stuff. In fact, let me just get the things that I want to sow today. Okay. First thing that's going to go in is the leeks that I've been given. Then I want to sow in the same bed. I'm going to sow some peas. This is probably going to be my last sowing of peas for the year. The early peas from this year were so successful, and then since then they've been a bit of a damp squid, just been too hot for them. So they're going to be direct sown, probably up in that same bed that I'm going to put the leeks in. The only thing that's in there at the moment is parsley, so there's a bit of space up there. More direct sowing, I'm going to sow 2 types of Mizuma. I've got this real fabulous green one, which has got proper chunky stems, and then the red one, which is the one that I was trying to grow for Hampton and didn't work, but we ended up eating loads of it because I had to sow it 3 times in the garden, and it was delicious. But yeah, that is what I'm going to get in today, hopefully. I'm going to start with the leeks and the peas in the top bed. Okay, these are, oh, that is a fragile bucket. These are the leeks that I've got from George. They are just bare-rooted little chaps. I'm going to plant them quite close together and just fit as many of these in as I can in this strip here. This is the parsley that I rescued out of the polytunnel, you know, before I put the tomatoes in. And we have had really fantastic pickings off it since, so that was really well worth doing. I'm just going to nip these flower spikes out again and see if we can get it to carry on, and then it will be peas in that end. Oh, I need some snips to tidy these up a bit. Right, it's not really cheers, chaps, because it's actually quite early in the morning. I am just about to disappear off, jump on the tube up to King's Cross and head up to Newcastle, actually, because tonight is Hannah's hen do. I know, she's getting married. How incredibly grown up of her. Yeah, so Hannah's hen do tonight, so I'm going to do my cheers to you up there, but I just wanted to say, as always, an enormous thank you to everybody watching and also to the Monday Club, who are the names you see at the end of the video. They're the people who keep it all going. And if you happen to be in Waitrose, look out for Lechford estate things. So it's not all Waitrose home brand is obviously not on that estate. It's just their one thing is called Leckford Farm. So they do flour, they do bread, but not in all stores, obviously. The rapeseed oil. Sadly, yours won't have been bottled by me, which is a bit of a shame. But yeah, look out for the brand because they do make some stuff there, and what they make there and what they're doing there, the whole project is really worthwhile. Yeah, so we got a lot of sewing done this week, but we're going to be doing a lot more sewing next week because next week's going to be August, and August is like basically the 2nd April. It's like the next big wave of sewing, which is going to be all the stuff which carries us through autumn, and then the longer term stuff which takes us through into next spring. So yeah, we're getting back on the sewing horse, chaps. Although to be fair, we did jump the gun a little bit and started at the end of July. But still, I've got all sorts of things like okra. I'm going to try okra again. I've got loads of the Chinese greens have all got to go in this month, and then I'll be succession sewing them from August. So we'll kind of be going in that way. Anyway, I'm going to be late for my train if I don't head off now. So I keep trying to do a cheers with this, but it's a cup of coffee, so it doesn't really cut the mustard. And I will see you in Newcastle for a cheers, and then I'll be back here next week for Sewing Marathon. Thanks, chaps.